The best salespeople in the world are the ones who do it without you even noticing. Everyone's a salesperson, especially if you're an entrepreneur. In the I'm Not Salesy podcast, join me, Cassie McKenzie, and my fabulous guests as we dive into the top strategies, mindset, and energetics around sales and money so that you can hear more "yes, I'm in" instead of crickets or getting ghosted. So if you're ready to fully book out your programs with aligned AF clients and have people chasing you down in your inbox asking how to work with you, then subscribe to this podcast today and become not salesy too. Yay! Okay, it's that time of week again. Welcome back for another episode of the I'm Not Salesy podcast. And if you've listened to me long enough, you know how much I love talking about your money mindset because it's a huge part of sales. And it's like, I was just saying to my guest today, Jill, it's like these things are the things that hold you back. It's like the dirty underbelly of the sales and coaching industry nobody wants to talk about, right? You want to talk about all the money wins and the things that you did that are great and what so-and-so made over there, but then why aren't you there yet? You know, usually it's some sort of money mindset or other mindset issue. And today we've got some juicy ones that I honestly haven't really heard other people talking about very often, but as you grow your business, you start to bump up against. So welcome, Jill. How are you? I've got Jill Hope here with me.
Thank you, Cassie. I am great. I'm so excited to be here and have this chat with you.
Me too. So just to let you know, Jill is a six-figure money mindset coach for mompreneurs, and she's a writer and a speaker, and she also founded I Shine. So Jill spent 22 years in a successful corporate career, very similar to me, right? And then made the leap into entrepreneurship. And so, you know, she helps you make money with more of a purpose-driven work. But she also runs the Six-Figure Mompreneurs Club and helps you make money and get past all those like mindset things that are telling you that, you know, you can't ever be a six-figure earner. So, but when you absolutely can, right? You had like a really interesting stat when we were just talking about 83% of businesses don't even make it past six figures. Can you like go into that? Where's that come from?
Yeah, I have to say I was super shocked to learn that actually. For some reason I thought it would be much higher. And you know, I think that people initially think when they come into business, they think that it will be easy, especially if you were earning that before in say a different job. You think, well, I'll just quit and I'll be able to do this quickly. But something really weird happens. And I definitely noticed this for myself. And I got stuck in it actually for years, excuse me, where when you're working in a business, you don't really have to be connected to yourself. Like you're following someone else's agenda, right? It's not your agenda. And yeah, there's leeway of where you can, you know, express within that, but you're in a kind of a boundary, right? You're in a box in a sense.
Totally.
And when you go into your own business, it's suddenly all you. And there's nobody telling you what to do. There's no one giving you an agenda. There's no one giving you objectives. So, which is, you know, the reason why we do it, right? We don't want to be in that box. But I think what happens to a lot of people, and this is why that percent, that stat that you use is why it's so shockingly large in terms of people not ever getting to that level, is because suddenly like it's all about us, and that means all of our stuff comes up. And if you're not aware that you even have stuff, and we all do, you're layering strategies on top of this shaky foundation. I was sharing this before we started, and those strategies are not going to be effective for you, no matter how good of a student you are with those strategies, right? They're just not going to work the way you want them to, unfortunately.
No. And I think from the outside looking in, it looks so much easier than it actually is. And that's where, you know, people just don't understand how much goes into being a coach, especially, or for example, not especially, but for example, because I know my husband for a couple of years was like looking at me like, what are you doing on Instagram so much? Like, what are you doing on your computer? How much work could you do? Like, it looks so easy when you're watching somebody's story, but you didn't see them sitting there figuring out the words to say, or figuring out, like, is there some kind of strategy behind the words to say? Or you might see a post there and you think, well, that's a nice post, but you don't know how far in advance they thought, okay, well, at this point in time, I should be talking about this kind of thing because I'm launching this sort of offer. Like that, because your marketing department does that for you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And you also don't know how many, about those 10 coaching programs that person invested in, and those, 15 different, platforms and communities that they've been participating in for the last X number of years to build themselves up to the person that suddenly is like, has the alignment and can figure out the words and can connect with their ideal clients. I mean, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes to be able to make, to show up and look like you've got it all pulled together.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with whether you wear a pink blazer like I do in my branding photos, right? So, I mean, I know, like, when we first talked, because we were actually connected like just very recently, right? And so actually by one of my clients, and I absolutely adore her. She's so great. And I love the clients that I've gotten to work with, but I feel like I got to work with them because of some money mindset issues that I had when I first started my business. Because to be honest, like I signed, like, there was this point where I signed like 5 one-on-one clients within, I think it was like a week. But the money mindset part reared its ugly head when I realized one client from the get-go was like going to be a total pain in the ass. And then another one like decided to sign up, but then claimed when we got on our call where her payment was due, is because she paid like a down payment. And then she was going to just decide whether she wanted a payment plan or the rest. She said, "Oh, I didn't realize I signed up for one-on-one. Oh," and I'm like, okay, if the people pleaser in me kicked in, I'm like, "Oh, well, that's fine. You can just use what you paid towards a credit." Like, zero personal power whatsoever. And so I'd love to dive into like the topic of aligned clients or unaligned clients and your money mindset, how it plays into you either being so desperate for clients that you accept everybody with a credit card, or you're so selective that you're willing to hop on a call with somebody who gives the red flags and you're like, you know what, here's your refund. I don't even want to go down this road. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that, you kind of learn, I think when you start out, you're not exactly sure who you want to work with. And also it's really hard for people to niche down. Like, it's so hard for people to niche down. I've even caught myself in that too. But we do, I think there is some of that where it's trial and error, because you learn, well, who do I like to actually connect with, and who, like, what kind of clients, just like you said, this one is a pain in the ass, right? Like, you learn the types of traits that you just don't want to deal with, because like the truth is, you don't have to take any clients that you don't want to take.
Yeah.
But that comes from knowing yourself so well, knowing who you want to spend your time with, and making it okay for you to have that level of selectivity, I guess is the word. So, for me, it's really all about knowing yourself and giving yourself permission to say that this is what I want. This is how things get to be for me now. And this is okay. But like, I really do believe that, I mean, those things that you've discovered, like, that's how we figure this stuff out. You don't come at it knowing that stuff at the get-go, right? But the key is not to get stuck in that, because that could be a negative thought pattern, like, oh no, I've lost this client. And then you're going out there from a desperate place to get the next one. And it's not about getting clients. It's about serving and using your gifts.
Yeah. And I think, as far as, a lot of money issues people have are really self-worth issues, right? And to be able to say, you know what, this is not going to be a great 4 months together. I can tell already, like, here you go. Is it, to me, like I actually just did this is the topic that my brain's on today, because I actually just did this right before this call. Like earlier at 10 a.m. I had a call with somebody who signed up for one of my programs, and then like 4 days later was like, I have some concerns. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting, like, I let me help you. I want to serve you and help you any way I can. You want to hop on a call? Delays the call till today. Like, this happened last Thursday. So I'm like, it must not be that urgent. I don't really know what's going on. Didn't say anything in the message, and then got on and said, like, started asking me about my values and what do I value in life? And why do I only feature pictures of myself? And I'm like, what? Like, it's my personal brand. I'm a sales coach. I'm finding what, like, I don't know what this has anything to do with me teaching you how to sell online. Like, my view on Pride Month has none of your business. And it's also like, it has nothing to do with me teaching you how to sell out your programs for animals online. You know what I mean? Like, and by the way, every single Monday I put out a podcast episode featuring somebody else and their business and their life, like, hi, have you met me? You know what I mean? Like, it was the strangest thing I've ever done. I've never had to refund anybody, but it got me thinking about how, like, saying no today, I was like, it would be terrible for the container. And I told her, I said, I just don't think you're a great fit for the container. And I think she wanted me to let her off the hook, but I honestly felt like I was letting myself off, like I was really giving myself like the best self-care that I could have, because yeah, it would be easy to have an extra $3,000 in my bank account, but at what cost is that, And I really do 100% feel like, 2 or 3 years ago when I was first starting my business and I allowed those unaligned clients into my life, they wrecked my self-worth so much, or, like, it, not self-worth, I'm using the wrong word there. The fact that I brought unaligned clients in and forced myself to work with them just to make money actually blocked me from wanting to work with other clients down the line. Does that make sense? Because I was like projecting. I was like, well, I want clients, but I don't want them to be like that. You know what I mean? And so it was a long time before I even allowed myself to sign more high ticket clients, because I think underlying there was this trauma of having to go through, like, what I went through, but when that was really down to me and my boundaries to begin with,
Yeah, and it's also, well, first of all, you're 100% accurate in saying that, like, most of these issues at the end of the day, if you like go to the deepest level, it's about your level of self-worth, right? And we all, like, I want to say almost 100% of people have one of two core wounds. They either have a lack of self-worth, or they feel unlovable, right?
Yeah.
And so, and it all happens in childhood. It's not because we have bad parents, although some people do, right? But it is a part of the conditioning process, and you can't really get away from it. So knowing that at some core level, almost everyone has self-worth issues, right? And so what we do is, that's where this people-pleasing behavior comes in, and not wanting to disappoint people. And that, because we, as a baby, you start out being yourself. Like, you're born as your true self, and you start out like expressing yourself the way you uniquely express yourself and all of that. And you very quickly learn what's okay and what's not okay. But what a child picks, like the way a child takes that in, is that it means that certain aspects of me are not okay. And so they quickly learn how to morph themselves into the person that will be accepted, because truly it was a survival issue back when they're a baby. Because if their parents don't accept them, they could be abandoned. Their parents were life and death for them. The problem is that at some point we're supposed to graduate out of that and like reclaim our own voice, but we're not taught how to do it. And so we start going through our life making decisions from that place of needing to people please, needing to not disappoint others, needing, whatever the rules are. We then layer that with rules. And so you were kind of operating out of some rules that were not really serving you. And you're right. It is like the rules equal the bound, depending on what our rules are, we'll create boundaries to support those rules. So if something's not working, you probably have a rule that you need to change.
Yeah, 100%. And, I really felt like it was a moment to, let me see. I feel like another reason why only 83% of business owners make it to six figures is because of a lack of integrity, because of your voice, like you might not know what your voice is. So you're looking around because usually your corporation tells you what it is. They tell you what mask to wear. So when you're out in the open and you've got the freedom to have your own business and you've kind of decided your niche, and you start like, well, I don't know, how are they writing their content? What do they look like? What are they saying? And you start to like, that's where you start to see like carbon copies of like really powerful leaders, because there's a lot of people who haven't really decided what they stand for yet, and having that integrity to, it's fine to adopt. I think it's fine to adopt what you think you're like, mega church of the coaching industry leader saying, Six Flags over coaching. And or, but as long as you're walking the talk too, so for me to say in my content, for example, I'm going to help you magnetize like real ideal fit clients, like perfect fit clients that you love working with, but yet behind the scenes, I'm doing anything I can just to keep clients that I know I'm going to like absolutely hate every moment working with, because they're just judging me and expecting me to do things that are not in alignment with me, which also doesn't feel good. If it's not a hell yes, and you're getting that hell no there, but you keep going forward with it, then that's an energetic thing too, right? Like you said at the beginning, money is all the energetic. So me living in alignment with a tough decision, right? Which actually wasn't that tough, because I walked out of this room and I went and I said, after I screamed out loud, like, oh my effing God, I can't believe I just had that call. Yeah. I said to my husband, yeah, we're uncensored here at the I'm Not Salesy podcast. But I said to my husband, oh my God, like, this is going to open me, like 3 new clients are going to come in this girl's place, because I just like let go of so much energetic baggage that would have been such a damper on this whole entire thing.
Yeah, it reminds me of, this was years ago. I was in this, I'm still in it actually, this moms in business club, online. And I remember this woman had written in and she's like, my biggest client, like he was the bread and butter, right? Like sometimes we have those clients that are the bread and butter. And he was doing things that were so inappropriate. Like, and they were it was not online. It was a relationship that they were like in person together. So inappropriate. She was so uncomfortable, but she's like, but I can't let this client go. This client, I'm like, oh my God, you must let this client go, because she was so afraid that she would not get another client. And it's like, you won't, as long as you have him. You know what I mean? Like you must say goodbye to that. You cannot stand for that, or you'll attract that exact type of client over and over and over. It's just like dating, you'll attract if you don't clean up, if you've got a bad boyfriend or like someone that treats you wrong, if you don't create a new rule about who is willing, who is good enough for you to be in a relationship with, then you'll keep attracting that person over and over again.
Totally. Standards.
Yep.
Money like standards. And I feel like so many people, when you're having like the money mindset discussion with regard to coaching, a lot of times we talk about pricing or, I don't know, like getting so grippy or whatever. But like, honestly, it comes down to some of these more unsexy, topics of, standards and boundaries, especially like you said with dating. Like, yeah, there was a moment that I was up for, whoever was there at the Twisted Taco on a Friday night in Atlanta and who wanted to come over to Cosmo Lava with us and dance on the dance floor till 2 a.m. You know what I mean? But like, later on in life, it was like, I am not getting out of my house. I'm not like going to get out of this house or like get up from the seat if I don't feel a connection with you. You know what I mean? My friend Susan used to get so pissed at me because she's like, guys will come over here and you're just like, you have no interest in talking to them. And I'm like, and what? Like, I can tell what they're here for. I can feel it out. Like,
Yep.
and you can get that feeling too.
Yep.
That's where energetics comes in.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I like one of the things I needed to do when I first realized that, okay, something's not connected here in my business. I
Yeah.
was doing okay, but it definitely wasn't flowing the way I wanted. And like I was on all like the coaches who I was working with at the time, I would get on their panels and speak because
Yeah.
of how well I implemented everything they said. But the success at the end, like the results were not there. Like they
Yeah.
couldn't even believe. They're like, how are you? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. They could never tell me what was wrong.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
had this epiphany moment because not a lot of people, what people don't understand, and it took me years to figure this out. Maybe I'm a slow learner, but when someone teaches you their 7-step strategy, they're teaching you what worked for them.
Yeah.
What we figure out what works for us based on knowing who we are, right? So if you just blindly take someone else's strategy that worked for them because they figured out like the fine parts of what aligns with who they really are as a person and a business owner, it's unless you're the exact same carbon copy of them, it's not going to work. And if you try to be a carbon copy of them, but that's not you, you're
Mhm.
not going to stand out for your ideal clients. And that's when you get these people like you're talking about, these clients that shouldn't be with you in the first place. But and
Yeah.
I'm not saying you weren't in alignment with you, but like that is how that can happen, it's why they
Yeah.
get attracted to us. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It was it's so interesting you say that because I was actually just talking to my husband yesterday about his business. He went and got yoga teacher trained and wants to do some sort of coaching online, but similar to what a lot of other people, including myself, went through, there's that still I don't know enough thought. I'm not the expert enough to be able to charge more or to be able to do XYZ, and so that was the piece for me because I know when we first met, we talked about your story and I got chills because I was like, that's exactly what I went through, and like I remember even signing on with a coach and doing, I was already doing exactly what she was doing, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And everything looked great. Like the visuals were great. I was taking big action. I was doing all the pieces and I was showing up every week and I had no idea why nobody was responding to my Insta stories or I wasn't signing many clients, especially like the higher ticket ones, right? And so what it came down to was that belief part. I really feel like until you really get real with yourself and you look yourself in the mirror and say, I am honestly the best at this, which requires you choosing something to sell online that you believe you're the best at and looking at your history instead of looking at everybody else's, look at your history and say, what qualifies me in my own mind for this? Like, what do I do every day? What are the steps? What have I taken myself through? And like really pick something that you're passionate about, but also like it's 100% that conviction, that like confidence in yourself. That's like, you listen. And I actually said that to this woman today. I said, speaking of values, I don't think you're valuing what you have in front of you either, because like I've got 23 years in sales experience. I believe in manifestation and abundance and everybody having like so much of like an incredibly huge amount of, you know, abundance that we can all have, right? Like there's universal laws at play here, and there's political laws at play here, but we can also, make the most of all of them with the right mindset, you know what I mean, and the right strategy. And so you've got to, you've really got to start with that belief from the beginning, because then you apply the strategy to that. And a lot of times those beliefs are what's keeping you broke, and you don't even realize the fears and the doubts and the what if it doesn't work and what if this isn't for me kind of thing,
Absolutely. And that is where, like, the biggest, if I were to say, like, okay, Jill, what are you seeing as the biggest blocks that stop
Yeah.
women? What they're doing. Okay, there's like 8 things that I see on a regular basis that, like, if you would change, whatever 8 of these you have, there'd be a big shift for you.
I want to hear these. This was my next question. I love it.
Okay. Yeah. So like it's these I talk in terms of the voices, because your voice is who you are. Like that is your one way of expressing who you really are, is through your voice. And it's also it's how we know what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. Like it all comes through, like we hear these voices in our heads, right? We express ourselves through our voice. There's this inner stuff going on. So the problem that I see, I would say almost 100% of the time, is that in some way, shape, or form, which I'll talk about, the woman I'm working with, whoever it is, there's some aspect of her voice that she is not connected to. And what happens then is, when you're not connected to an aspect of your authentic voice, you're listening to voices of self-betrayal, and you're acting on those. And when you act on the voices of self-betrayal, guess what? You don't have a booming, successful business. And so then there's 8 of them that I see. I mean, there's probably more, but these are the ones that come up all the time. And so I'll say them, and then we can see, who, like, if people resonate, like, which ones do you think you have operating? Because usually people have multiple of these going on at the same time.
Totally.
You want me to go through them?
Yes, I'd love to hear that.
Okay. So the first, I'll just go through them real quickly. I actually have a free gift that, like, goes through them in more detail, but I'll do real quick. The voice of shoulds and shouldn'ts. Okay. This is a really big one if you're a mom, because we get caught up in the guilt about what we're doing and the shame and, oh, am I sabotaging my family? Like, I thought I was sabotaging my family's financial future by what I was doing. Like, there's all these, like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe the fact that the money's not rolling in the way I want is a sign that I shouldn't be doing it. Right.
Yeah. Am I spending my kids' inheritance on my coach?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah. So that's the first one. The second one is, and I want to pull these up so I don't miss any of them. So the second one is the voice of safety. This is a big one for a lot of women. This looks like you're going to play it safe. You're kind of hiding a little bit. You're not totally showing who you are. It's like hiding things about you. Keeping yourself small, even if you don't really realize it. Like, pricing is a way to keep yourself small. If you're only willing to charge small prices, you're going to be attracting clients that either do not value what you offer because you're not valuing it enough, or they're people that are bargain shopping, right? Who don't make good clients. They never make good clients. No. So the voice of safety, it's this thing that convinces you that there's some invisible thread out there that if you shine too bright, if you get too big, then it's all going to come crashing down. So people have a lot of fears around safety. Yeah. Another one? Oh, go ahead.
For sure. Yeah, no, your bigness, for sure.
Yeah.
It can be scary.
And we have a lot of reasons for getting trapped in that. Like, I mean, if you have a sister, say, and, like, you don't want to outshine her, like we don't want to make other people feel small if we get big. I've got a client who, this is a really big issue for her that we've been working on, is that she holds herself back because she feels like, who am I to have all these things and to be that, right? And it's like, well, why do you think that by you staying small that you're helping anybody else? You're not
Exactly.
getting yourself out there in that way. So safety is a big one. The third one is the voice of unworthiness. And this is kind of what we were speaking about before. It's that
Yeah.
fundamental nagging feeling that you're just not good enough to have
Yeah.
it. And you just don't measure up to those other fancy pages on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a deep one.
That is, yeah, it's like not enoughness, of course. Like
Totally.
why would somebody sign up for my program if they could just go take that other person's who's way more popular?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the
And
other
that's,
thing I see is like pulling the plug before the finish line because they haven't signed enough clients into the program. So they're afraid of what they're going to look like to the ones who did join if they don't have like 10 or 20 people there and there's 2 people sitting in the program instead of saying, well, no, they chose me. They said I was, so you start to tell all these stories about that.
oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of my programs, I'd have 3 people. The 3
Yeah.
was like a magic number for me.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, those 3, when I did this is a couple of years ago, I started a beta program. It was when I was just kind of making my foray into what I'm doing now. And I created this beta program that is my signature program. And it was the first time I was launching it. And so I did this really successful challenge. And I had 3 people sign up for the program, right? And I was initially disappointed. I was really excited that 3 people could
Yeah.
see what this had. But the interesting thing that happened was those people are still, it's been 2 years now. It was a 6-month program.
Yeah.
They don't want to stop. So we are still meeting and they're having major breakthroughs. And so like, you never know what, you don't want to close the door, but also to your point about this, we give up on ourselves before the 11th hour. We don't send that one last email. We don't, because we don't want to bother people. We're like, oh, if they wanted to sign up, they would have done it by now. I usually sign up 5 minutes before doors close. It's just the way I operate.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that, but like, we won't, if you don't send that one last email or make that one last reach out to that person that you've seen open every single one of your emails, but not act, you're definitely leaving people behind that probably need you, and they just need a little help to, like, they need that one last reminder. Yeah.
So what are the others?
So the others,
more?
voice of procrastination.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh my gosh, this is fear cloaked in a sense of false control. Like, we think we're in control, but I've got it, and I'm going to take that action as soon as this thing happens and that thing happens. There always has to be some perfect set of circumstances before they can take that next big step. And the problem is those never usually line up because your energy is not in a place for those to line up.
Yeah, the other way I've seen it in myself, for example, is like, and actually you might have one, like overwhelm, but like, because I can see them going together a little bit, but like, you have so many options, you want to pick the perfect one. Like, because I do this a lot, like I'm with a breathwork coach too. And so there's so many that could be like the perfect one for my scenario that I'm in. But I'm like, oh my God, she just gave me a list of 6 to do. Like, which one's the best one to start with? I think I'll try to figure it out later instead of just being like, let me just jump into whatever I'm called to. You know what I mean? That's like so crazy.
Well, and Cassie, you know what that is? That is a definite symptom that you're not completely aligned with it within yourself. Because if you really, really knew yourself, you would know, like, your intuition, you'd be so connected with it that it'd be like, this is where you need to start, right? And I think you do know that, right? But like, we don't, like
in those moments,
it's like,
like, oh no, which one do I, because you don't want to waste, they're like, oh my God, I might waste time, or I've got 20 minutes before dinner, like, which one do I do, like, or you're in the, especially like when you got such a when you got such a busy schedule, you're like, holy crap, like, I just want to make sure I get the most bang for my buck out of this, time wise. So
I mean, one of the things that was such a big issue for me, I've gotten so much better, but like, it's still a journey, is this whole thing about, I gotta figure it out, right? I have to figure it out. And the problem is we need our brains and we need our intellects for a lot of things. But I think it's a much, like, personally, I've been able to make much more powerful decisions when I make it from here, when I just let my heart guide me. And as long as what's in my heart, which it typically is aligned with my vision, and I choose anything that is there, it's always right. Like, it's never wrong. It's never wrong.
100%.
Yeah. But the figuring out, we get caught stuck up here, and then that's when the swirl starts happening and the overwhelm, because you're not going to find the answer up here.
Yeah. No.
Just tune in. It's there.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So what's the next one?
So the next one, which kind of goes along with what you're saying, Cassie, the voice of self-doubt. This is the one where, like, you're constantly questioning yourself, right? It also convinces you you're not good enough, right? It comes in like, you really shouldn't send that. It's not perfect. It's not. Oh, and I skipped. I skipped a few here. I skipped perfectionism. So we can talk about that too. Yeah. So it's like everything has to be perfect before I can move on. And the problem is then you're never finishing anything, because nothing's ever going to be perfect enough for you with that voice. One of the best pieces of advice I got way at the beginning of my career from my very first coach was done is better than perfect.
It is.
I'm like, yes, I can go with that.
Yeah.
And I do that's what I do when I notice myself ruminating over something I've written. When I ruminate, I know I'm not connected, and I'm like, okay, done is better than perfect. It's good enough. Hit send. Boom. It's gone.
Yeah, it is 100%. Because, you've got to figure out, you've got to just put it out there and see what kind of response it gets. Now, obviously there's some strategy to things, but if you're finding yourself, like, I see this happen a lot with people who want to make money in their coaching business, but take like 6 months to create the program.
Yes.
It happens a lot.
Yeah. Sell it first and create it later. That's how I do it.
Me too.
You have to. Why waste all that time building an amazing program that isn't what people are looking for? See what sells, and then boom, you know what to create. Yeah. So the next one is, how many do we have left? We have 2 left.
Okay.
The voice of self-criticism. Now, this is one of the most, well, I would say probably the most damaging voice, because it's the one that basically where you become both a victim of yourself as well as your own abuser.
That's right. Yeah. And you're shaping your identity. Like, be careful how you talk to yourself, because it's not just a voice that you heard from the past. It's a voice that you're hearing from the current, which becomes your future.
Yes, exactly. It's something, it's a conditioned way that we are responding to ourselves. And that voice gets really strong if we do that all the time. But it takes effort not to criticize yourself when something goes wrong.
Yeah, I know.
But it's a path to opening up some money channels if you can stop doing that.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last one is the voice of distraction, which is like, that also is where overwhelm comes in. It's that bright, shining object syndrome. There's so many choices. What should I do? But the problem is we can get stuck in not following through and not committing with the voice of distraction, like not fully committing to one thing. If we hop from this thing to that thing, and I've had clients that have done that too. And it's like, girl, like, we got to focus. We got to focus and see it through.
Yeah. It is. It's so true. Because, and especially with social media and Canva, like, people are like, oh, I've been working all day long. I've been spending all day on my sales page. I'm like, well, what did you actually do? Well, I spent like 5 hours making graphics, and I posted that. And then but it shouldn't have taken that long. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of it is total distractions. And that's why I say, like, I can tell if somebody's going to be really successful coming straight out the gate, because the more you get caught up in those distraction-y kind of things, I feel like that's where you're really stuck in that, like, not believing, or the doubting, or the not enoughness, and some of those other really major ones, where that then leads to criticism, and then leads to you looking for a dopamine rush that's not coming from the people buying your program. It's coming from, oh, well, let me just check things off my list to say I've been really busy today. And the difference between being in your corporate job and being online is you don't get paid just to look busy anymore. Like, it doesn't
Exactly.
matter how much you work every day. It doesn't increase how much you're going to get paid. In fact, I work less than ever in my business, and I make more than ever.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah. I mean, so any of these things, we use these things so that we don't have to look at the root
Yeah.
cause of what
Mhm.
is stopping us. And it's usually, like we said at the beginning, it's usually around unworthiness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so if you're not willing to do that level of work, I mean, I kind of hesitate to say this, but I mean, it is true. Like
Mhm.
every single person I've talked to who gets their business past six figures, they all go through some version of having to do this kind of deep
Mm.
introspective work on,
Mhm.
like if they're stuck. I mean, some people, they naturally, like you said, like you can spot out of the gate which people are going to have the the makeup to be able to do it. But I think for the most part, people really do get caught up in some of these areas. And if you're not willing to do that work, the chance of you creating success beyond six figures is probably slim. It's probably, I hate
Yeah.
to say it, but I mean, it's the
No, it is
reality.
slim, because
Yeah.
this is work that's ongoing too. Like, every time you
Yes.
bump up against your next level, whether it's six figures or multiple six figures, or going for 500,000 year or $1 million year, like, this same work is going to keep resurfacing. So
Yep.
get used to doing it. But it's actually fun. Like, I know it can be scary sometimes, because you're like, oh my God, sometimes things come out that you're like, where the hell did that come from? Has that been down there this whole time? And sure enough, it has. And then you're like, is it all, it's like a gremlin. Like, is it all gone? You know what I mean? Like, is it all out? But like, you learn how to quiet it faster, because like, it's just trying to keep you safe, because it's kept you safe for this long. And you don't need it to keep you safe anymore, because there's really any you that's why emotional intelligence is so important in business, because you start to learn, like, well, I can handle it. Like, I don't need anything. I can handle whatever comes at me. There's ways out of it. It's not going to most likely kill me. You know what I mean? Might suck in the moment, but allow yourself to feel that, and then move on, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really the only path is, yes, it's uncomfortable, but another mentor of mine had told me you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you want to be
Yeah.
successful. And it's true.
Yeah.
Everything we do is uncomfortable. Like every like new step is so uncomfortable
Yeah.
until it's comfortable, until it becomes comfortable because you're doing it, but the only way to make things more comfortable is to actually do them.
Yeah. It is. It comes like, 'cause that's where the confidence comes from. It's not something you can't, like, purchase a mentor for a year and have their confidence rub off on you. Like, yeah, some are more activating than others, right? Like, we all know
Absolutely.
those people who we can go listen to once and be like slapped back into gear. But like, there's other, like, the vast majority aren't there to do that, right? And so you can't just expect your mentor to give you the confidence just because you paid them, you know and it comes from consistently trying something new over and over again, and then having it be no big deal, just like walking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it helps to have a mentor there that is like,
Yeah.
okay, what are you going to do? Okay, you can do, like, you're good. Sometimes we just need to hear someone say, you can do it,
Yeah.
you
Or,
can
this
do
is
it.
normal. I went through
Yeah.
this too, and
Yeah.
I got out of it. And it
Yeah.
might be the last time you go through this, and that's okay
Yeah.
too, because you got it. It's fine. It's better on the other side with this problem than sitting where you were before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell everybody, Jill, where people can find you and come get comfortable being uncomfortable so they can make more money.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I've got as I said, I have this free gift. It's at ishinewealth.com/8 reasons. It's an ebook, the 8 surprising reasons why you're not yet making 6 figures. So it goes through in a little more detail. It comes with a video as well as the ebook, a little more detail than what I've shared today. About the things, the ways that we stop ourselves and, what we can do to move through it. I mean, one really important thing I do want to share before we're done here is you don't have to, and I think this is a misconception, and maybe you have a different opinion on this, Cassie, but it's not like you're trying to get rid of these things. Like,
no,
you're not trying to get rid of, because the truth is, I don't think like first of all, you don't need to be successful. Every successful person has a level of unworthiness within them. Like, it doesn't go away, but you choose to stop listening to it, and you start listening to a different voice. And that is the voice that comes from your vision and your purpose. And that will start getting louder the more you hear it and then act on it and trust it and stop acting on all these, voices of self-sabotage that we talked about. The balance starts shifting. Those get quieter, as you said, and then this voice here of your vision gets louder and clearer. So it's a lot easier to take those steps, because you kind of, when I do this, I create success. When I do this, I create success. When I do that, I hold myself back, and you start to see the truth of that. But I do want people to know, it's not about, we're not getting rid of anything about you. We're actually just embracing it all, and we're going to listen to the things that move us where we want to go.
Yeah, I have a program that I ran a couple of years ago that I'm actually going to be bringing back later this year as part of like a bundle thing that I'm doing. Anyway, but it's called Big Money Vibes, and I run it. It's about like money energetics. And in the first call, I go through shadow consciousness and like the highest level of light, and where your shadows come in too, and how they're drawing away your power. And it's really eye-opening to a lot of people to see, oh my gosh, like, I don't have to kill my shadows anymore. It's like, really, no, you're looking at these areas as, well, here's where I can get my power back. And then I give them like things that they would normally say in both, instances, and that they can actually hear some of the things that come out of their mouth. They're like, oh my God, wait, no, that was me. That's not me. That's like the shadow parts of me that have been ingrained in me for so long, that come out in ways that aren't supporting my growth. Right. So I 100% agree with what you have to say, because it's like at every single level you go through, these parts of who you were and who you are and who you're going to be down the road, but you learn to gain the power back from them instead of letting them suck the power out of you consistently.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shadow work is probably one of the most powerful things I've ever done.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool that you have a program around that.
Yeah, I know. I love it. It's one of my most favorite ones. It gets like such amazing results too, but it's mainly like, because it's for just, it's such an eye-opening experience for a lot of people who have never, really dived into that before. But okay, that's enough for today, guys. Thank you, Jill, for being our guest. This was so much fun, and be sure to leave a review and subscribe to this channel, or to the if you're watching us on YouTube, leave a comment and let us know what you guys think. And you can always tag us on social media. The links are in the show notes, either right below this video or on the episode. And thanks so much for joining us. And Jill, this has been amazing. I love the direction that we are able to dive into many conversations that we really haven't ever had on this podcast yet. So thank you for your genius.
Well, thank you for having me here. It was a lot of fun. I love talking about this stuff.
Me too. I know I could go on for hours, but I have a meeting.
Yes, I hear
you. All righty. Well, you have a great week, and I will talk with you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.